20 to 40,000 homes a year. That's a significant level of management and quality control that has to go in, so it's a real pleasure to have you on. I'm Daryl Baskin, you're listening to The Future of Real Estate, Tulsa's source for local real estate news and information. Today's program brought to you by TTCU Federal Credit Union, Integrity Title and Abstract, Window World of Tulsa, and Goodman Construction, as well as the Baskin Real Estate Spec.
Want to address thousands of homes? HomeGuideTulsa.com. Got to get back to those. How about 5320 South Sheridan? Actually, this is a good thing to talk about here. This is the house you drive by in Sheridan all the time. Across from the farm, 53rd and Sheridan, 1 acre, and you drive by. It's like a country setting, like right in the middle of all of this development around there. So the courthouse says 3,600, 3,900 square feet, whatever it is. I don't think it's that. I don't know how they came up with that. There is a basement. It's a finished basement. Sometimes that's counted, sometimes it's not, depending on, you can talk to appraisers and get different answers of what, when you can count it, when you can't. It is a walkout basement. But it also has what's equivalent to a 4-car detached garage, 2-car wide tandem, so it's like 22 by 40. So it's it's got a big workshop attached to it. But here's what's interesting about it. It's under contract right now. It's contingent. So the question is often, well, how do contingencies work? So this house is still available. Somebody can come in and buy it. But it has a kick-out clause. And when you're looking at a contingency, a kick-out clause is somebody else has purchased the house, but they have something else they're working on, whether it's financing, selling a house, etc. It's not a regular sale where it's just contingent upon someone's financing. It is based on some other event in order for them to be 100% sure that they're going to go ahead and continue. Well, if you're a buyer and you want to come in and buy that property, another buyer, then there's some confusion. Sometimes a buyer will think, oh, it's under contingency. I don't really want to buy it, or I can't buy it because it's going to involve a lot of extra work. Really, what it means, when you see a contingency, it means that that's probably a really good deal that's on the market. If I've got a serious buyer and I'm shopping houses, and I see a contingency, I say, hey, I think you ought to look at this. If you're ready to buy now, somebody else bought this house. Somebody else shopped around, looked at 10, 15, 20, 50, 100, who knows how many houses, and this was the best buy to them. So all you need to do is go in and unseat that contingency. I'm talking as if I'm talking to a seller, because sellers are frequently wondering, well, is it going to cut down on my showings? It may. It actually may cut down on your showings. But who are you losing? Are you losing the people who aren't going to buy for 6 months? Okay, well, they were just tracking up your carpet in the first place. The really serious buyers often have the mentality of, hey, this is already shopped for me. Somebody has marked this as one of the best buys on the market. So think about it in a different way. I think too often we get caught up in this, it's just bad information. And you heard something one time and it kind of gets spread around. And it's not really the best advice or best strategy when you're shopping. So that's kind of the things we talk about is look at maybe the empirical data. That's a word that's commonly used to describe other things, but in this case, what are the real facts about how this affects the market with these decisions that you make? So a little bit nebulous there, but I think you're kind of getting my point. Check it out, HomeGuideTulsa.com, 5320 South Sheridan Road. You're listening to The Future of Real Estate, Tulsa's source for local real estate news and information. Speaking of local, we'll have Robert Bell, floodplain management, flood insurance. Did your property get added back to the floodplain here in 2010? A lot of changes have been happening around here. Bring you up to date on that right after this.
Listen to the KRMG Morning News with Dan Potter, Monday morning starting at 5 a.m. on 102.3 KRMG.
I have all kinds of stuff like around here.
So I've got a computer frozen in here. I'm gonna have to pad this out for a little bit.
All right.
All the pageantry, and I wanted to keep playing, but I graduated. No colleges called, and neither did the pros. I learned the importance of integrity, good sportsmanship, and respect for the rules. Now, as a high school official, I get to help model these same values to others. Maybe the colleges and the
Our young people are not ready for the future. Household income impacts the social mobility of children within that household. And children raised in households with lower incomes or who experience impoverished living conditions are at distinct disadvantages. Yet we believe we can inspire and prepare young people to succeed.
Asking real estate
JA's
specialist, this
proven
is Bill.
programs and volunteer role models provide students with the positive realizations and reinforcement of career aspirations, an understanding of money management,
I
and
can
exposure to the
probably set
benefits
that
of
up. I'm
business
sure I
ownership
can set that up. Can
that
I
help
call you back
overcome negative
at
competing
2 o'clock
environmental
when I get off the air?
Junior
All right,
achievement empowers
I'm
young
doing
people.
a live radio program here for another 30 minutes, and then I'll be off.
Attain a higher
And,
education
we'll get you
and
set
median
up.
household income than the general U.S. population.
My pleasure. Talk to you soon.
The
Bye.
JA experience helps foster the self-belief and
house
sense of purpose
On
necessary
50,
for young
53rd
people
Sheridan.
to
Is that
overcome
like,
challenging
what, 5,
circumstances.
4? Yeah. Okay. Then contact this person.
America is listening to Fox
I live in a 100-year-old home. It's a home I fell in love with, and it has so many amazing features. But the one thing it does not have is straight windows. It has windows that are cracked and broken and worn out. I contacted Window World. They came in and put these brand new, amazing, incredibly beautiful windows into my home.
Just tell her-
From the
tell her
outside
the
of the
truth.
house, they match the exterior perfectly. It looks like they've always been here. Now the windows are the jewels in the home. Window World, from the beginning to the end, they met and exceeded every expectation I had. Window World really is simply the best for less.
Do TTCU.
Our young people are not ready for the future. Household income impacts the social mobility of children within that household. And children raised in households with lower incomes or who experience impoverished living conditions are at distinct disadvantages.
No, I guess not, because it's always.
Yet we believe we can inspire and prepare young people to succeed. JA's proven programs and volunteer role models provide students with the positive realizations and reinforcement of career aspirations, an understanding of money management, and exposure to the benefits of business ownership that help overcome negative competing environmental factors. Junior achievement empowers young people. JA alumni attain a higher education and median household income than the general U.S. population. The JA experience helps foster the self-belief and sense of purpose necessary for young people to overcome challenging circumstances.
Contract. And some of those
I live in a 100-year-old home. It's a home I fell in love with, and it has so many amazing features. But the one thing it does not have is straight windows. It has windows that are cracked and broken and worn out. I contacted Window World. They came in and put these brand new, amazing, incredibly beautiful windows into my home. From the outside of the house, they match the exterior perfectly. It looks like they've always been here. Now the windows are the jewels in the home. Window World, from the beginning to the end, they met and exceeded every expectation I had. Window World really is simply the best for less.
Correct. Not all pre-approval letters are created equal. A lot of your lenders that you see online, they are basing it off of just your credit score alone.
Joke and say just as well be written
you
on
and I know that credit
toilet
score
paper.
is just the
Back
top
before the
layer of what a borrower needs to complete the
meltdown.
transaction. So another lender is going to look at, or different lenders are going to dive a little bit deeper, and we want to know that you're financially stable to be able to afford that transaction, because it is the most important purchase you're ever going to make, and we want to protect you as our member, and we want to protect everybody involved to make sure that it goes well and that you can afford that payment for the next 30 years.
Everybody involved means this is why if you're a home seller, you should care where your buyer is getting their loan, because you need a reliable lender doing their job so that it even closes. So you care about this as a home seller, and I'll tell you, I've said it many times, many of these pre-approval letters you get just as well be printed on toilet paper, because that's about all they're worth. Get a good pre-approval letter and see what its conditions are. Some of them are so broad, they are absolutely meaningless. Go to ttcu.com. You can apply this weekend. When you get a pre-approval letter, I'll just say it right.
2100 West Main. That's a good one to talk about
to get
in
an
this.
approval letter. But you know why I like
this.
that?
Okay.
Because I know when I get a pre-approval letter, it's a real pre-approval letter, not something just to make
that
me
could
feel
probably
good at the moment. So I'm going to do a whole bunch of work. I'm going to get a whole bunch of people excited. The buyer's going to be excited. The seller's going to be excited.
Start the conversation.
Only to find out a week or two later that all of the details weren't put together properly, and now we've got a problem. That is a big problem. It's an emotional letdown. It is a financial dilemma, because you've already started to make plans and spend money. Get it right.
Exactly.
TTCU.
And I'll add to that right quick for you that you mentioned that sometimes it takes us a little bit longer, and that is the case. We do
You gonna take it out of this?
Our approval process a little bit differently
All right, just
than
under
a
a
lot
minute.
of lenders, but we have integrated some new technology that can generate that
Hey,
pre-approval
Facebook
letter
friends,
a lot
I have no
faster
idea
for
what
our
audio
loan
you're
officers.
hearing, so I hope you can even
we're
hear
constantly
the
looking to
interview.
improve technology, and we're
I don't
constantly
have
listening
those
to
headphones
the
on. I have another
feedback
set of
that our
headphones
members
on.
are giving us, because we want to be the best lender that we can be for our members. So we are taking all of that into consideration, and we're able to get those letters out a lot faster now than we were, say, 6 months ago.
Yeah, do it right. You do not want to be the next topic on the future of real estate, where we're talking about why you need to get a pre-approval letter from an established and reputable organization. Hey, Callie, I always love talking to you. Thank
Such
you
an
very much.
underrated
Callie McGuire.
Thank you.
TCU Federal Credit Union. I'm Daryl Baskin. You're listening to The Future of Real Estate.
Want to address thousands of homes? HomeGuideTulsa.com. New price, 9314 North 138th East Avenue in Owasso. This is Nottingham. Classic luxury styling. If you know anything about Owasso and Nottingham, you kind of know it's, Owasso's a younger city in that it's not like, doesn't have the same older areas or Utica Square and all this stuff. You know what I mean? It's a newer developed area. But you'd have Nottingham, and if there was a Midtown or Maple Ridge in Nottingham or in Owasso, it would be Nottingham. Do you know what I'm talking about? You know the relative comparison? I can hear people just like, oh my goodness, this guy doesn't even know what he's talking about. Think about it. Don't be so judgmental. Come on, let's be open and tolerant. You'll get my idea. Anyway, you don't have to drive so far. All this new stuff, you have to drive and drive and drive. Nottingham is right in the center.
I was going to try to save you with that, but
oh, you were?
I was, but I figured I'd leave you at the
HomeGuideTulsa.com. Go on there and check it out. Okay, I've been promising that we're going to talk about floods, flooding, flood insurance. Robert Bell is with me. Floodplains, insurance, elevation certificates, 2010, 2011 changes. Take it from here. What do we need to know, Robert?
I think the most important thing is there is a lot of changes that happened in the late 2010s, that time frame.
Why that year? What was going on?
Well, what happened is that the federal government came through and digitized all the mapping. So you can go and access a floodplain map in our area. Anybody can get it. You don't have to go down to City Hall anymore. So it's out there.
Or call INCOG.
Or
you don't have to.
You just go online and to the floodplain mapping through FEMA at that
just
point.
Google it and find FEMA's maps.
But to make those maps, what they did is they reestablished all the elevations for the metro area, and in doing so, they brought in some properties that weren't previously in the floodplain. So those homeowners have got a shock, and they may not know it till they go to refinance or sell.
Or the lender happens to go through and reevaluate all of their loans because of this change. Sometimes they'll know, okay, there's been a change. What houses do we have loans on that are in this area? I've had that happen on a couple of clients that when they bought it, it wasn't in a flood zone. When they sold it, it was in a flood zone. So what do you do? That's a bad bit of news.
Yeah, yes, and it's the most important thing to recognize is that all the floodplain requirements are related to insurance. It's an insurance program set up by the federal government.
But let's be clear, that is a federal government insurance program. You get it through your local insurance agent, but someone who, many people think, oh, I've got complete coverage, I've got full coverage. That covers me for everything. And they think that includes flood. That does not include flood. If you're not paying a separate policy, an add-on, you don't have flood insurance.
And they're getting more strict, and they're getting more broad with their decisions of what requires floodplain insurance, basically because they've had so many losses in the past. We can go back to Katrina and some of the floods up in the Northeast that we were aware of. I mean, all of those create an impact to the federal government.
Well, we allowed too much building in floodplains. There was that time period where we just weren't smart about it.
I think the issue for the homeowner is if there's a change that you're aware of, that your property wasn't in the floodplain and now it is, really the only way out of that is to determine what's real.
With an elevation certificate.
Go hire an elevation certificate. Yeah.
I have not had one of those done recently. It's been a number of years. What's an average cost on that? Do you know?
I'd say $250 to $500.
Okay, well that's not bad.
But
that's to show that the house itself is outside of the flood plain. But it has to be like what, 100?
Okay, so
or two?
Flood insurance. There's some different
not 100 feet. I actually had two thoughts coming out at the same time.
Well, there's some different criteria to what the flood insurance companies can charge, and if the house is 1 foot above the 100-year floodplain, then that's and the floodplain is completely off the property, then you don't require flood insurance.
Let me go back and cover something else, because I was reading an interesting article, and for years, it's kind of like we say, oh, the termite report. Well, the termite report is actually the wood destroying organism report. It's not just about termites. It is about wood bees, carpenter ants, wood rot, termites. Those are all included under that, but we just, our vernacular is, it's a termite report. That's our little saying. It's easier than saying all those other things. Well, we also say, which you just said, the 100-year floodplain. We've been calling it the 100. That was the appropriate term for it, but it created a false idea of what the 100-year floodplain was, because it's like, okay, well, it's almost like it's like the dummy bet, the fool's bet on what's the roulette. It's like you're looking at the board, reds, greens. Okay, it's got to hit red. Well, it's got to hit, black. Red or black. And after so many blacks, it's got to hit red. No, it doesn't. It could do it 100 times and it could be on black. But with the flood, I learn a lot from gambling, by the way. I sit and ponder when I'm watching all of it. And I think of the gambles that we take in life. Well, the 100-year floodplain does not mean, oh, we just had a flood, so it's not going to flood anymore for 100 years. You're not clear for 100 years. It's the concept of there's a 1% chance in any given year that this could happen. Well, that's based on a whole lot of variables. And so it's the risk that actuaries are looking at of what is the risk of that particular property. Therefore, anyone who's making an investment in it or making a loan on it, they measure off of that risk, and that's why you're paying the flood insurance.
And the federal government has established what that elevation is for the floodplain.
You're sitting here, I'm getting on this rant, but
no, I agree, because most people think 100-year floodplain, but you described it exactly correct.
Well, they're trying to change. I think the issue is we're talking about these development levels and insurance, and it gets really in the weeds. But I think to the average person sitting in their house, they need to not think of it as 100-year floodplain. They need to think of it as the 1% chance. It's a higher risk than another property, but that doesn't mean that it really doesn't have anything to do with 100 years.
And the other thing to think about is that there's someday it's going to flood. It's not about, will it flood? It's about when it.
But it goes back to the
flood.
beginning of this show, because I said, well, my yard or my drain blocked up because of those. I can't say it on the radio, gophers or moles, and it ran in my back door.
Well, look at this last spring when we had the Arkansas River and the release out of the Keystone Dam. The Jinx was designed to be built 1 foot above the 1986 release, which was 306,000 cubic feet per second. So when all this flood was going on and it got up to 175 and 275, it did exactly what it was supposed to do. That walkway in front of, between the river and Riverwalk got underwater. Well, that's what was designed, but it was designed that it would have to have a release greater than 1986 before it flooded the entire, before it affected the buildings. Someday it may happen, but and it's
but that's
really,
when it's time for a remodel anyway.
It's do you design the property and do the best you can to meet the criteria that and the information that you have.
Talking to Robert Bell, former city planner actually for Jinx for 16, 18 100 years.
Sometimes.
One of our specialists at the Baskin, real estate specialists, and a land planner, somebody who deals with these types of things of what's the highest and best use for a property, how should it be reconfigured, what is the future economic value of it with those configurations. So one of those things I want to talk about is kind of the story of repurposing some land that was right in front of one of the levees in Jinx on Main Street, currently for sale, and it was kind of amazing to see that this is a use for a property that I think thousands of people have driven by over the years and not ever seen. You're listening to The Future of Real Estate. Back with Robert Bell and zoning around floodplains after this.
We're getting weeds.
When it's time to sell your house,
Lots of weeds.
what's the best criteria?
I live in a 100-year-old home. It's a home I fell in love with, and it has so many amazing features. But the one thing it does not have is straight windows. It has windows that are cracked and broken and worn out. I contacted Window World. They came in and put these brand new, amazing, incredibly beautiful windows into my home. From the outside of the house, they match the exterior perfectly. It looks like they've always been here. Now the windows are the jewels in the home. Window World, from the beginning to the end, they met and exceeded every expectation I had. Window World really is simply the best for less.
When quality and value matter most, choose Window World. Superior service, American-made products, and industry-leading warranties make us the #1 choice for your next home remodel. J.D. Power ranked Window World highest in customer satisfaction with window and patio door retailers. Be proud of your home and take care of it with a brand you can trust. Window World, America's exterior remodeler.
Junior Achievement gives young people the skills they need to own their economic success, plan for their future, and make smart academic choices. Junior Achievement volunteers help students with financial literacy, work readiness, and entrepreneurship.
or roofing, Goodman Roofing.
You can schedule a 15-minute phone call with me or one of my specialists. That's no cost, no obligation, and we want to see how we can help you. Now, maybe it involves us, maybe it involves somebody else. We can send you out.
Did you get a reply from that person by text?
Strategic advisors that help our other clients. AskHimForBaskin.com.
Yes.
Okay, good.
We're the Baskin
Everything good?
Specialists at eXp Realty.
She said thanks, no worries.
Okay. Yeah, she called a couple of times, so I didn't want her to have to wait.
Your roof is damaged by storms? I'm Mike Goodman with Goodman Construction. Give us a call now. 918-271-5555. 271-5555.
Okay, want to address thousands of homes, homeguidetulsa.com. I've got this little thing, cost versus value report, the 2020 home improvement projects with the highest return on investment. So I want to make sure you understand when these come out, it is a compilation of opinions from real estate professionals from all across the country. How good are these reports? How about I just say not good? They're not. But I read them and they're good for what they are good for, and they're not good for what they're not good for. How's that for a really solid answer? Here's the idea. Sure, they've got some good ideas. They have some opinions based on varying experiences from people, but you have to look at your specific property in each and every case and measure these. The reason I'm making this such a big issue at this particular point in the program is too many people will call me and say, oh, I have just put here, by the way, the #1 return on this report, manufactured stone veneer. 95.6% return on investment. Average cost, $9,357. Average resale value, $8,943. That's almost dollar for dollar. You want to improve your house? Guess what? I have nothing against manufactured stone veneer. And with the right application, it is such a great product. It changes the look of a house, and it's a great upgrade. But if you get this report, which you're gonna see, you Google around, you're like, home improvements, what should I do? And you see the report, and you don't get good professional advice for your particular property and what the resale value of it is in your neighborhood, in your price range. By the way, price range makes a big difference as to what's moving, and where it is you're going, what you want to do with your money. You may make a really bad choice, and that's why I have a chip on my shoulder when it comes to these reports, because the people take them and use them incorrectly. So yeah, read the report. I'll tell you the next thing on it. Garage door replacement, 94.5%. Average cost, $3,695. Average resale value, $3,491. Have lots of friends that sell and install garage doors. I love them. I love the garage doors. But don't go spending that kind of money on your house just based on a single report, thinking that you're going to get dollar for dollar back. It's the, we were talking about betting, weren't we? Roulette. Yeah. The black and the reds, and it's going to go back and forth. It's the fool's bet. When you're doing that without getting multiple opinions, looking at some other data in the process and comparing it. What is best for you? Not what did one person on a report that you read on the internet, which isn't always accurate, say is best for you. Okay, you're listening to The Future of Real Estate, Tulsa's source for local real estate news and information. Robert Bell here with me, developing property. There's property on Main Street. There's the soccer fields. This is in Jinx. Soccer fields back behind it, and we have it for sale right now, which is a great reason to talk about it. But in front of this, the levee, there is this land. What can you do with that? It's been rezoned.
Well, what we did was we set out, the owners contacted me, and we set out to say, how can we make this developable and what's the best and highest use? Well, it sits on the hard corner of one of two north-south streets in Jinx at that point. And that's an important corner. Gateway Mortgage is gone in down the street. The golf course is right there. So it's not good that this property has been sitting there vacant for all these years.
But one of the reasons it'll be vacant for many years, as in any city, is someone hasn't kind of cast a vision for the use of that property.
Correct.
That's not a general buyer. Most buyers, that's not their bailiwick.
Well, and some of the areas already developed. Titan Sports put in a 12 soccer field complex just to the south of this, on the other side of the levee. So there's 1,000 kids out there every day, and there are different 1,000 kids out there every day.
They have to eat.
And this property could support that use very well.
And parents want something to do while they're waiting for their kids. So that's part of that development process.
So when we first looked at this, the first thing that jumped out at us was it was in the levee easement, because it was the levee borders between those two properties. And in 1949, they used the
That's
dirt.
when that levee was built.
That's correct. So they used that dirt to help build the levee. So there was an easement to give them that right. So we had to go in and get the release of that levee easement. There's a billboard on this property, which is actually a good thing because it could be income to the property owner, to the purchaser.
By the way, if you own property and someone approaches you about a cell tower or billboard, lease that. Don't give it away. I've seen it given away before, and the best thing for you, your generations after you, is to own that and have it as income. And so it's worth having someone else review that lease and the terms to make sure that you're someone who's a specialist there, so that make sure you're getting the income that's right for it now. But also keep in mind, these things can extend for decades. You want the ability to renegotiate or change that amount that's appropriate. And I've seen estates turn over where the land includes one of those as income, but it is not near the level of income that it should be, or the terms prevent proper development for use of the land, which is a huge cost. It's a loss to the family if you don't do it right early on.
And that's what I was going to say. Don't leave out consult with the planner and a possible engineer. What's the vision of this property at that point? Because if putting a billboard there or outdoor advertising could
impact
negatively the property. So we've got this property rezoned to commercial shopping, that property, which means fast food restaurants. I mean, I could think of a lot of that sell ice cream right next to the soccer fields would be a home run.
Can you, or a goal?
There you go.
Tell me, can you bring dirt in to elevate your building pad, keep it out of the flood zone?
Customarily, what the levy has been given to the Tulsa County to manage at that point. So what the Corps of Engineers wants the county to do at a maximum or a minimum is to protect 15 feet of the toe of the levee, so on either side. Now, if you're on the land side, which would be the land side toe of the levee, you can do development outside of that. If you're doing development at within the toe of the levee, you can damage the levee. So they move you back. The standard easement on all levees is usually 50 feet from the center line of the levee back.
From the center line?
From the center line. So, customarily 25, 30 feet from the toe, we can get that moved to 50 feet.
So now we're talking weeds. You asked if we were getting in the weeds. Now we're talking weeds. But this is why Robert and I spend a lot of time talking about this kind of stuff, because it affects you. And when it comes to your real estate and something that maybe Grandpa bought in 1920, and it's been passed along, or whatever's going on with it now, you need to think ahead, because the real value of these things comes out in the wash many years later. One address, thousands of homes. HomeGuideTulsa.com. You can reach Robert at
918-902-0462.
Okay, and I'm Daryl Baskin, asking for Baskin, or you can find us online, 258-2600. Talk to you next week here on The Future of Real Estate.
KRMG